Today, we are talking about the biggest automotive group in the world, the biggest car manufacturer that is currently burning down and completely dismantling at a rate never seen before. And today, we're finding out if there's still any bit of hope left for that company or if they are just destined to fail. Hello and welcome to another video by HKCM Global. My name is Joe, and as just mentioned before, today we're going to take a look at the biggest automotive company in the world, the biggest car manufacturer, and that is, you might have guessed it already. If you haven't, you can take a guess right now. Which one is it? It's not Tesla, obviously. It's also not Toyota, but it is VW, it's Volkswagen. Well, depending of course which metrics you're going to use. I mean, if you're going to go by cars, it's going to be Toyota, but if you're going to go by revenue, it is Volkswagen. That is at least for now, because back in 2023 already, so almost 2 years back, more like 1.5 years back, the Volkswagen CEO Schaefer said to management the famous words, "The roof is on fire." Thomas Schaefer's fiery address reveals tough times are ahead for Volkswagen as unprecedented investments in the transition to electric vehicles weigh heavily on the German brand. Volkswagen CEO Thomas Schaefer is warning of tough times, suggesting all is at stake in a fiery address during an international managers meeting held this week. So that was back in 2023, about 1.5 years back, and I have bad news, because as we jump into the charts, July of 2023, when that warning was issued, that is June, July, so that's about here. So by that time, VW was still trading at roughly 123, 125 euros per share. And since that time, I mean, look for yourself. That's not pretty. That's not pretty. What is that in percentage points? So up until this very day, we're talking about another loss of 23%, so almost a quarter of shareholder value destroyed since. And back then, we had concluded that down here in this area, there might be an overreaching bottom, and that's why we established here this blue trading area. Those blue trading areas are, if you're not too familiar with our system, those blue trading areas are overreaching very big entry zones. So they either mark a huge long-term bottom that we expected, or they mark a huge long-term top that we expected in the markets. And as you can see, by end of 2023 leading into 2024, we had reached that trading area, and we actually did quite a bounce from here onward. So we did get a bounce of around 30%. Not bad, not bad. So that's solid gains right here, I would say. However, as a whole, the situation of the German economy currently is all but good news. The German economy in a whole is in a really bad spot right now, and especially the car manufacturers. They're getting heavy competition from car manufacturers from both the US, but mainly from China. And that's why the whole situation had played out way worse than we had expected, leading to a complete overshoot of our trading area. So we completely overshot that area. This area is not valid any longer, but we had no other choice but to conclude that our count up until this point has been wrong. And so we established a new count, which now has this new trading area substituting the one before, where we expect the wave 2 to finally come to a conclusion, which would then, of course, finally mark the end of a long-term downtrend for Volkswagen. Because if we take a closer look to our count, you can see that for years now, we have only been in a corrective count. So starting from here, we have already been corrective. So back in 2021, we established a huge X wave, and from then onward, we had a W, X, Y, X, Z correction all the way here, concluding another overreaching Z wave, concluding another overreaching final Y wave. So basically correction within correction within correction within correction. So the situation for Volkswagen really is terrible, and it even gets more obvious when I take you to the overreaching long-term expectation that we have for Volkswagen. So you can see here basically the top that we are now correcting from. So as you know, a correction to the downside is always a correction from a before happened top, and so that top occurred in 2015, and since then, since that top in 2015, so over the last almost 10 years now, over the last 10 years, Volkswagen has been in a corrective downtrend. And I gotta admit, being in a downtrend, being in a corrective move for the better part of 10 years, over a full decade, and still being the biggest car manufacturer in the world, that is, I would say, kind of quite a feat to achieve. I mean, pardon my sarcasm, but sometimes when the world is looking that bad, all you can do is take it lighthearted. So, but what does that mean then? As I just told you before, we expect our major bottom of this corrective wave 2 down here in the trading area, somewhere between at 56 euros 16 on the upper end and 30 euros on the lower limit, and somewhere in that area we would expect the wave 2, the corrective wave 2, to find its bottom, and from then onward our expectation completely flips on its head, and from then onward we really expect a huge, massive, overreaching, year-long, maybe decade-long upward run to conclude a overreaching wave 3. And I know that currently, after this 10 years of a bear market in Volkswagen, that is almost unimaginable. But keep in mind that back here in 2007, when the famous Dieselgate occurred, VW, from all the way from 130 euros, they came down to 30 euros. So that was a loss of almost 80%, so 79% of a loss back then. And from then onward, Volkswagen recovered and had a rally up until this just before mentioned top in 2015. They had a rally of 800%. So, wow. I mean, if we want to look at it optimistically, one could say they've done it once, they can do it again. But yeah, you really need quite a bit of optimism for that. All I wanted to say with that basically was it might not be as hopeless as you might think at this moment in time. But so far I showed you the medium-term outlook and I showed you the completely long-term overreaching outlook. So what's missing now? What's missing now is only the short-term outlook. And on the short term, you see that was the trading area mentioned before, where we initially got a good response, where we got a good solid bounce back in 2023 and another 30% bull market. But as of recently, we completely overshot that. We established a new low here, marking potentially a wave A. And now in development is a wave B that will probably form somewhere here in that area upwards of 100 euros, maybe all the way up to 120 euros. And then after that conclusion of this wave B, which might as well take us all the way even back over our before mentioned trading area, only then we would see the before mentioned final top, which would then lead to that redeeming final bottom of the wave 2, which would then clear the way for that scenario here and the wave 3 to finally unfold and to deliver Volkswagen out of its current misery. And along with it, maybe even the better part of the German economy. Who knows? Time will tell. And so that's it for today. If you want to make sure to not miss our launch of our international daily analytics service, you can go down to the description. As of now, as you're watching this video, we do not have that service available yet, but if you go down to the description and click on that link, type in your email address, completely free of charge, you will get notified as soon as we have that service ready and available. And if you want to get multiple videos a week talking about stocks of my preference, of my choice, and our Elliott wave analysis on those, please go down to the description, upwards of the description, press the subscription button and turn on the bell notification so you will always get notified as soon as we push out another video. And that will be multiple times a week. So you definitely be missing out by not doing that. So up until then, see you soon. Take care.